activated. I'm Brian. This is where MAGA comes to talk. Welcome, one and all. Just got in my car and I'm heading to work. And of course, I'm wearing a cap of wisdom. This is the cap of wisdom. This is one of my MAGA hats that President Trump has seen with his own eyes in person. So anytime I have one of the MAGA hats that President Trump has seen with his own eyes, I feel a little bit smarter. It's kind of like the episode of Star Trek, Spock's brain. You know, they put that thing on Dr. McCoy's head, and then all of a sudden he can do these miraculous surgeries. That's how I feel, the cap of wisdom. So, just incredible things going on here, and I'm going to, I got a lot of things to lead with today. But, of course, in the beginning of today's program, I'm going to cover President Trump saying what no one else would say that was in office during Biden's reign of terror, and that's that Zelensky's a dictator. And now we found out through Bobby Kennedy that the reason Boris went to Zelensky was to get Zelensky to throw out the peace deal that Putin wanted. Now, how long ago was that trip? How many people are dead because Biden's got junkie kids and is a crook? How many? How many people are dead in Europe? What a monster. How can he live with himself? I tell you, these people that have been running this country are monsters. Monsters. And President Trump, that speech he gave in Miami was epic. Epic. Not only was it epic, the press conference, the unscheduled press conference he did on Air Force One, they call it the gaggle. That was amazing too. So I'm going to play some clips from both of those. And, you know, this speech that the president gave in Miami yesterday, Elon, of course, was there. All the big players were there. But sitting next to Elon Musk was the Her Royal Highness, one of the princesses from Saudi Arabia. You know, that princess could have sat next to anyone she wanted to. And she wanted to sit next to Elon Musk. Isn't that tells you everything you need to know about Elon. And I was watching her, because I was a little curious about her reaction to things, and she was laughing at President Trump's jokes during the speech. But I was a little surprised because yesterday I knew he was going, you know, President Trump was at Mar-a-Lago, and he went from Mar-a-Lago to that speech in Miami, and he flew Air Force One from Palm Beach to Miami, which is, I don't even know how they make a flight that short. It's so short. And usually in the first term, when President Trump goes to Miami from Mar-a-Lago, he goes on Marine One. And Marine One flies right over my house. And I was a little disappointed because when Marine One flies, it is amazing. Because there's a whole squadron of helicopters surrounding it, combat helicopters, and it flies right over my house. And you can actually feel it when it flies over the house. I was so hoping he would have done that yesterday. But next time. Welcome, everyone. If you're new, make sure you subscribe. I'm heading to the radio station. I've got to go to the radio station today and tomorrow. And then Monday I'll be back at my studio. I really appreciate using my studio at home when I have this hour-long drive to the radio station in the morning. Oh, my goodness. It's a long way to go. I don't even know how much I'm saving on gas because I was spending so much on gas I didn't even pay attention because I didn't want to know. It is 4:45 a.m. here on Mar-a-Lago time here in Florida. Well, in South Florida. Exciting times, exciting times. I can't wait to go through the clips of his press conference. And President Trump himself is talking about giving every American a rebate check from the money they're and we were Steve says, oh, that should go to the debt. I don't know what I find it hard to believe. I'll talk to Steve about it today. I find it hard to believe that Steve would not take that check, that rebate check. That's our money. I don't care about the national debt. I care about my own. The national debt will take care of itself by cutting out the spending. I think, and we got a call at the end of the show yesterday. This guy, it'll cause runaway inflation if you give everybody $5,000. Well, first of all, not everyone's going to get it. It's not every person or every household. It's every taxpayer. And a lot of people in this country do not pay taxes. So it would only go to taxpayers. So that's a lot of people still, but it's not. It's not everybody, and it's only per household, too, per tax-paying household. So my wife and I, we get one check together, not two, and I think that's an awesome thing to do. They've been stealing from us for so damn long. You know, I started watching. I was a couple things yesterday. Okay, it really just pissed me off. There's a new Vietnam documentary on Apple TV, and I wasn't gonna watch it because I've seen so many documentaries on Vietnam, and Apple I figure is liberal. But I started watching it, and there's two things about it that are amazing. First off, you know, the technology to remaster old film, because everything back then was on film, to make it high def and 4K is amazing. So the you know, like when the U.S. Embassy in Saigon was attacked and all these things, they have processed that film footage with the new technology that it is the best quality video, film, images that are, you know, motion pictures that you've ever seen of the war in Vietnam. So that's interesting. And then they did something I always was curious about. Maybe you guys were too. Anytime you watch these documentaries on Vietnam or the Second World War, and they have all these guys in them, I always wonder, do people see themselves in any of these things, right? Does anybody ever turn one on and say, hey, that's me? And they actually interview and focus in on people that were in the news footage of the day. There was which I've never seen anyone do before, and that was just fascinating. But they begin in the middle, they begin in the beginning. They don't begin in the middle. In the beginning, one of the guys was talking about he came home from work. He was just 18, and his mom was on the front porch crying, and his dad was saluting. He got his draft notice. And I haven't gotten far. I was too busy to sit and watch the whole thing. I'm going to try to watch it over the weekend because it is very fascinating. And Vietnam it's hard to believe the war in Vietnam was over 50 years ago. That's crazy. But I know it's nuts. But of course, a war based on the military-industrial complex's greed. I don't know if they're going to get into this, but I doubt it. But the reason the Vietnam War went on for 10 years is the same reason Afghanistan went on for 20. The military-industrial complex that owns all the politicians and the presidents, but Johnson and everything back then. They probably killed Kennedy, according to Bobby Kennedy, over in Vietnam, because he wanted to end it. They would not let the military fight the war in a way to win it. Of course, we could have won the war in Vietnam. You think we lost to a bunch of medieval-like soldiers? Give me a break. They had all these bizarre rules of engagement, and the way they were fighting the war, it's like that story that President Trump was telling again last night with General Raisin Kane with ISIS. They had them fight the war in a way that it would never be won, never end, eating the military-industrial complex pockets. And it just pisses me off that this country for so long has been run by these animals that are just sacrificing young men in combat to get rich. These are sick people. Pisses me off. So it was kind of hard to watch that. But I went to read this book. What's the name of the author? Oh boy, I was telling you guys, when I was at that Trump-hating bookstore the other day, I was talking about the author who wrote Devil in a White City, about the serial killer, H.H. Holmes, at the Chicago World's Fair in the 1890s. What is that guy's name? Because I got a new book by him. What's that author's name? I want to say Larson. Who wrote Devil in the White City? Could someone tell me? Because it's important for me to tell you what this guy did. I'll have to look at the next red light. It really, I got this book, and this guy just pissed me the freak off. The author of Devil in the White City, I've read 2 of his books, Devil in the White City, and then he had one after that wasn't so good, about the U.S. ambassador to Germany before the war. Devil in the White City is the book. Who wrote that? Because I want to get his name right. If I see the name, I'll recognize it. I'll know it as soon as you guys put it in the chat. Eric Larson. I was right, Larson. I was right. Okay. So when I went to that Trump-hating book, this guy in front of me just freaking stopped. He's stopping in the road. What the hell? Hold on. What's up with this guy? I don't know what the hell he's doing. Eric Larson. I had the last name right. Okay. So when I went to that Trump-hating Barnes & Noble that I made that vlog about, which I hope you guys watch, they had a book there by him, and I read Devil in the White City when it first came out many years ago. Very good book. I got that other book about pre-war Germany, which I didn't care for. But Devil in the White City was one of the best books I've read ever. It was amazing. So he had a book. It's about Fort Sumter, the attack on Fort Sumter. You know, when the Democrats launched their insurrection, known as the American Civil War. I call it the Democrat insurrection. And it's about the president-elect period of Abraham Lincoln. And back then, the presidents weren't sworn. Inauguration day wasn't until March, even though the election was in November, because of, you know, the technology. They didn't have modern transportation. So the presidential election, or the president-elect period was pretty long, November through March. And it's a book about that period. And I'm like, well, this is interesting. I've never really, I mean, I know about Fort Sumter, and I know, you know, about the states leaving the Union during, you know, Lincoln's election triggered the Democrats' insurrection. So I thought, oh, this is interesting. I'll get this. I didn't get it at the bookstore. It was like $38 or something at the bookstore. I got it on Amazon, hardcover, for $14. And I did something I rarely do when I read books. I read the introduction by the author. I rarely read introductions by the author of any book. And I know that's true for most people who reads that crap, but I read it this time, and it just pissed me off. And I'm not even sure I'm going to read the book now. I did start reading the first chapter, but I was so pissed I said, F this, and put it down. I got to think about it. In his introduction, he writes, this is Eric Larson in this new book. I can't remember the name of the book. It's his new book. It's about Fort Sumter. It's got Fort Sumter on the cover. You can look up Eric Larson and get the title on Amazon. In the author's introduction, he starts off by saying he began the research for this book while he was watching the J6 attack on the Capitol. And he goes in this long thing in the introduction attacking MAGA and comparing MAGA to those who left the Union and attacked Fort Sumter. And if you remember, the Democrats shot President Lincoln too, by the way, and killed him. And it just pissed me the freak off. I'm like, this, you know, I said to my wife, I said, this guy's a liberal asshole. You know, what the hell's he thinking putting this in the book? You know, it just spoils the whole book because he's so biased. And I'm probably still going to read it. But I knew something was up with this guy because I read the inside flap description of the book, you know. And it made some reference to during the president-elect period, Lincoln screwed up and caused the Civil War, which is total bullshit. The Democrats owned black people, and they wanted to keep owning black people. So, you know, Lincoln was an abolitionist to end slavery, and they fired on Fort Sumter. I don't even know if I should read the book. It was only if I'd have paid $38 for it, I'd be really outraged. But $14, you know, it just pissed me off. The Demon of Unrest is the name of the book. Yeah, I may still read it, you know, because it can't hurt to hear other perspectives on things. But it just really I was really looking forward to it. I had not. I don't have a lot of time and plus I'm not patient to sit down and read too often. So when I read a book, I try to at least read one chapter at a time in a sitting. I don't like to stop at the middle of a chapter. I try to complete a chapter before I stop reading. Just a habit I developed in college when I was studying. I'd have to read books for college, you know, tests and stuff. And I couldn't get more than 3 pages because I was so pissed off that he's injecting January 6th. But that's how the left are. So, yeah, I know. What a jerk. I mean, just a monster. Now, if you're new to my channel, my name's Brian. This is where MAGA comes to talk. And I started the stream. This is one of I have a few MAGA hats that President Trump has seen. I call them my caps of wisdom. I always feel smarter when I'm wearing a MAGA hat that Trump's own eyes have been laid on, you know, has actually seen with his own eyes. I'm on my way to the radio station. Just jumped in. I am going to the radio station today and tomorrow. I gotta do things at the radio station today and tomorrow, and I've got something I gotta do today that I'll tell you guys after it's done. I'm in my Kia today, not my wife's Mini. I'm so used to all the modern things in my wife's Mini, like having Alexa in the car. Like when I was looking for the name of that author, I almost asked Alexa. We get so locked into this tech. Have you ever? I've done this one time, but I know others have done this. Nobody'll admit this. Have you ever been looking at a real physical picture and tried to take your fingers on it and zoom in? Have you ever done that? I did that once. I don't know what I was thinking. But I got a lot to cover today. I mean, you know, if you look, I already got the stream up with the thumbnail with Trump and Zelensky. You know, he's a dictator and he doesn't want the war to end. Zelensky, and I'm so proud of President Trump for saying it. You know, he backed out of that Ukraine went back on their agreement to pay us back for all our spending on the war and rare earth minerals. And meanwhile, Europe only loaned them money. They got to pay back Europe, but they're not going to pay us back? Screw Ukraine. How dare they? Zelensky is so full of himself. I mean, he's as crazy as Greta Thunberg, as stupid as AOC, and as arrogant as, I don't know who. What liberal is really arrogant? I'm not sure. I'll think of the third one, the triumvirate of liberal quacks. But Zelensky's out of his freaking mind. He's so full of himself because these world leaders and Democrats have been kissing his ass and sucking up to him and putting him on this pedestal of brilliance for a couple of years. He thinks he's all that. Like, remember when Pelosi had that session of Congress and all that crap with him? I mean, so his idea of his stature and importance and significance is way the hell out of proportion. And tearing up that agreement on the rare earth minerals and going after Trump, he's made a tragic error. Trump's not going to work with him anymore. You can't trust him. Went back on his word. So, screw him. He could have been a partner with Trump in this peace deal with Russia, but he's not now, and he's out. He's just too arrogant to know it. One day, it's very possible we wake up one day and we find out that Zelensky has left with his family to some country somewhere where he's living in exile. What country? This is a serious question. When this thief Zelensky flees Ukraine because he doesn't want to have an election, what he's doing. If he were to flee Ukraine, what country would he go to live in exile with all of his U.S. taxpayer money that he's stolen? What would be your guess? What country would he flee to, Zelensky? I don't know. Because whoever takes him in is going to be pissing off the United States. He's not going to have a lot of friends when this is over. He's just not. Now, if you're new to my channel, make sure you subscribe, guys. In about an hour, I'll be on the radio taking your calls. This guy's blasting his music, and I got a whiff of something he's smoking. Out of his mind. Okay, he turned off. He's driving down the road very fast. He's blasting music. And it smells like weed. What an idiot. That's how out of it he is. He's driving around like that. That's what I tell you, that 5 a.m. bar crowd that are on the road at this hour. They're so stupid. They figure they don't, but, and there's a cop right here, but he turned off. But, I would rather be on a road filled with drunks and stoners than people texting. It's just me. Russia's got Crimea forever. That's not even on the table. Philadelphia, welcome. No, he's not going to be Coral Gables. That's where the heck Doral is. No, he's not going to be welcome in Miami. Trump's not going to let him live in exile in Florida, in America. He's going to find that, he's just not useful to them anymore. You know, a lot of these people get very full of themselves. Like Greta Thunberg, you know, what is she now? 18, 19. She's already a washed-up has-been. You know, since the climate change thing fizzled out, now she's becoming an not becoming, I mean, she's been doing this. She's a pro-terrorist Palestinian supporter, spewing anti-Semitic rhetoric, trying to be relevant again. You know, Greta Thunberg. I mean, that's what happens. I mean, look at David Hogg. You know, he's already got some fundraising conflicts going on with his DNC position. They made a big mistake putting that guy there. Big mistake. These people get very arrogant because everybody around them kisses their ass. And, you know, the thing about Zelensky, because he's, you know, he's an actor, you know, actors want adoration. And a Ukrainian actor, very small audience, you know. And now he's worldwide famous, so he's got international stardom, which is what actors fantasize about. It's gone to his head. I've known so many people in my life personally that have gotten a little celebrity and their ego. Some on the radio, some on social media. There's some people I know on YouTube that, you know, they get on YouTube, they get subs, they're getting views, and all of a sudden they think they're a celebrity. And I can see there's this, I'm not sure what to call the look. I talk about this sometimes, but there's this look that you could see sometimes on the faces of people, and you could tell they're in love with themselves. I see this a lot on YouTube because when people are vlogging, they see themselves on their camera screen, right? They have mirrorless cameras, or they're on a phone, and they think they're famous, so they see themselves, and they got like this little smirk on their face the whole time, weird look on their face, and you could tell, oh, I'm so hot, I look hot, I'm so cool, I'm so famous. It's so sad. And that's what's happened with Zelensky. The fame has gone to his head, and he's out of his freaking mind. Kind of like Dirk Diggler at the end of Boogie Nights, you know, when things went dark, like 3/4 of the way into the movie. He thought he was the big star, and he could do whatever the freak he wanted. Then Burt Reynolds fired him, and then next thing you know, he's on the street hooking. You know, then he came back at the end and begged for forgiveness, and he took him in. But Dirk Diggler, remember Boogie Nights? That's what happens to a lot of these people. Zelensky, some YouTubers and people. They just get so full of themselves. One of the on YouTube, one of the big signs of that is when somebody does a you know who you can see that smirk that I'm talking about. You know who you can see that in a lot? I'll tell you who you can see that in a lot. They're on television. Jesse Waters. Jesse Waters loves himself. He's in love with himself. He's the kind of guy who gets sexually aroused just looking at himself because he's so cool and hot. But he's got a big primetime show on Fox. So I get it. I like his primetime show on Fox, by the way. Jesse Waters is good. He covers a lot of good stuff. I watch his show from time to time, once or twice a week. I catch usually maybe the beginning, a couple times a week. I don't watch the whole thing, but I'll see clips online of it. He's very good on that show. Very good, I think. But you got one of the signs of a YouTuber that is beginning to get in love with themselves is when they do one of those videos where they're answering viewer questions about themselves that people DM them or put on Instagram, and they're always complimentary. You'll never. I told my wife. I said, if you ever catch me, even thinking about doing a video answering people's that watch on YouTube's question about me, stop me. Don't ever let me do that. 25 things you didn't know about me, or 10 things people want, about me. Those one, those are the worst. People will learn about you during the course of, being on YouTube and talking. Another one's Hannity, okay, on Fox. Hannity, no matter what it is, there's two guys, there's three guys on Fox that have egos, right? Ego problems. Jesse Waters and Hannity, those are the two big ones. But they're on prime time and superstars, okay? Hannity always turns everything into him. I, me, this, I, me. And the other one is the guy that's on during the day, John Roberts, who's on with Sandra Smith. No matter what he's talking about, somehow he turns it into himself. He was interviewing somebody the other day. We just bumped into each other in the elevator this morning. Or, he's talking about the Toronto plane crash. And he points out about how he's from Canada. He turns everything into him. There's a lot of that. That's a sign of that. But there's one thing I want to talk about that a couple people, well, more than a couple, quite a few people actually commented about something I said yesterday that I want to address. I'm going to, after I get my coffee. Now, when I pull into Starbucks, I got to pay with my phone. So, you may lose the feed and have to refresh. But there was something that actually quite a few people are questioning something I said yesterday about Hannity. And I got one call on the air about it too yesterday. These people, they're so out of their freaking minds. But I do read the comments on the YouTube videos. If you want to leave negative comments about me, that's fine. That's fine. All right. I'm at Starbucks.
Thank you for choosing our Starbucks. What can I get for you?
2 venti hot blonde Americanos, 1 black and 1 with extra cream, please. Great. And that's it.
All right, that'll be $10.17.
Okay, thank you. This Starbucks charges more than every other Starbucks in town. I don't know why, but they do. I only go to this one on days I go to the radio station. The one by my house is like $2 cheaper, $1 cheaper. I don't know. If you're new, make sure you subscribe. Now, I'm going to pay for the coffee here with my phone, so you guys will lose the feed, maybe, when I pay. So, refresh, and some people that give me a hard time about something I said yesterday, and I want to talk about it. I'm going to talk about it on the air, too, because it's so ridiculous. but I'll wait until after I get the coffee. Canada never amounted to anything. Yeah, you know, I'm going to be interviewed by someone this afternoon. I'll tell you who, when, and where after it's done. But I'm going to be interviewed by someone this afternoon. They want to talk to me about Canada. I know exactly what I'll say about that. Canada, pathetic. Okay. Well, I haven't paid yet. Make sure you subscribe if you're new, and also click that notification bell. I don't like him. I don't like the 5. I was talking about that the other day, but I do like his 19 Waters TV show. He's very good. I like it. He's much better than Hannity. Here we go. Okay, let me plug my phone back in. Did you guys lose the feed or the picture? Okay, yesterday. I got a call at the end of the show about this, and sometimes, you know, go out to you guys that I'm thinking of doing. And I'm going to ask your opinions on this too. I was talking yesterday that Hannity, I know President Trump was complimenting the interview with Hannity and all that stuff, but I thought Hannity did a real shitty job on the interview. We talked about that a lot yesterday, right? I mean, it was just off. And